All right, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome once again to another installment of Cryptic Corner. I've got this hair that keeps flying down on my face. Where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I'm your host, Miss Bumblebee. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, because I would never accept the moniker of Amazing Ember. I'm sorry. It's the Amazing Ember. I'm not stealing that from you. Ember's the amazing one. I'm bombastic, and Ember's amazing. Steph is Steffing, and Carly is Chardonnay, I guess. But regardless, we do make up the transposition. So if you don't know about that, drop a link, one of my mods, please. There's enough wrenches out there to fill the NASCAR pit crew because I'm loving and giving to all my people. Yes, good morning. Yeah, I'm not really a bee. Sorry if anybody thought I was actually going to be a bee. John Hudson. John Hudson is a fellow Texan. I'm not a Texan, actually. I'll always be a Missouri girl at heart because that's where I grew up. And sometimes if I get excited, that accent will come out. So keep your ears open for it, and you might even get a chance to hear it today. Who knows? But we can both be amazing, Bree. You amaze me anyway. Ember, you're such a sweetie. And there's the link to the transpositions. That's the show that me and Ember work on. So if you want to, you're like, what's that? What's the transpositions? You can click on that link, and there's a little short little intro video. I'll wait. It's like 30 seconds. Actually, it's at the end of our show. I could probably pop over to it real quick now. Let me see. Yeah, let's do that. You want to know the well, no, because we're in the middle of Cryptic Corner. I will get back to that. Let's do Cryptic Corner. What am I doing? I'm ranting here. Good morning, beautiful people. Good evening to everybody watching this live at Cryptic Corner on Friday night. My live audience is keeping me tickled this morning, so thank you for your patience while we get to the topic at hand. So we've covered a lot of werewolf and dog-like stuff on the show. We have we did the Ringdocus or Wahila. We've done werewolves and dogmen and all this fun stuff. There's one called the Wolver in Scotland that we haven't done yet, but that one's going to be for our March lineup, because we always do a couple of fairy videos around St. Patrick's Day, and we will do the Wolver around there. Also want to, since everybody's here and paying attention, I want to draw everybody's attention down below where I'm talking. You should still be able to hear me and scroll down. So we're doing Hogwarts houses, but with cryptids. So is the link in there? Yeah. So this one hasn't been updated yet. Hold on, I'm going to fix that real quick. This will just take me a second, as I added that link on after I scheduled this, so it's not showing up. Hold on. Upload defaults. Yes, there we go. Unless you guys can see the merch store down below. I can't see it when I look at it. Let me refresh. Maybe it'll show up now. No merch store. Okay, so let me fix that real quick. Should just take me a minute. We have merch. We have the 4 houses of cryptozoology that I just want to cover real quick. And I'm going to put the link in the chat below. I just got to update it real quick. I just made the stream before I added this link to the video description default. So it should be updated now, though. Like, if you refresh or whatever, it should show the link to my Fourth Wall store. And there are 4 t-shirt designs. Cried, that's something I kept meaning to do and didn't get done too. But, how can I do that? Yeah, I think I can do that way. But these are the designs. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go... Cryptic Corner main. And what's all this now? I've never in my life wanted to sort by name. Stop it. All right. Here we go. All right. Let's pull that up. Oh. We're going to do... Now that I know where it's at, I'll just have to cut this out because this is taking too long for it to be part of my Cryptic Corner segment. But I do want to do the Cryptic Corner shirt ad. Yeah, so these... Why you gotta be so big now? Stop being weird. So you got the Swamp Booger. And we've got the Jersey Devil. And we've got Dogman. Oh, we also have Mothman. Yeah, so you can get your own. Yeah, you can get your own Cryptic Corner t-shirt. Yeah, this will be running at the end of all the Cryptic Corner videos now, but these are the options and designs that we have available for all the Cryptic Corner fans. Yeah, so check that out. But today, speaking of Dogman, we are talking about dog-headed people. So, make sense of that. Let me see here. Where's our dog-headed people? There. Okay. Yeah, so we've been here before. This is Ward Radio, formerly Midnight Mormons. Or maybe Midnight Mormons as a show on Ward Radio. I'm not sure. But they tackle a lot of nonsense. Here's their channel description. Welcome to Ward Radio. Here we delight in truth, we denounce deception, and we have fun. We are a refuge from Babylon. We hope you join us and stay a while. Maybe even enjoy yourself. We are a pro Latter-day Saints podcast and radio program that talks about anything and everything tangential to the gospel of Jesus Christ, the scripture, or scriptures, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to read the description. Oh, this is only 58 seconds long, but hold on. We'll finish reading this too. We do a lot of debunking of anti-Mormon haters who think we are stupid if you believe, but we also don't take ourselves too seriously. We hope you stay a while and enjoy yourself on our channel. Let's see. This is their channel ad. Wait a second. What? Yeah. So that's their little intro thing. Oh, it's still. I was reading the chat too. That's funny. That's their little. And there's not really much to it. It's like a 50-second.
These guys anti-bitter.
Right now. The standard of truth has been erected.
Yeah, listen.
Stop playing defense.
Good morning.
No unhallowed hand can stop the broadcast.
That is the way that a lot of Latter-day Saints do apologize.
Good morning, Al.
Cancel culture rages and mobs combine.
We actually had one of the protesters over for dinner.
What? But the truth of God will go forth boldly.
These people are lying to you. They do not care about you.
Until it has reached every television, sounded in
What a
every
morning.
iPhone, and reached every person. This signal will continue to go forth. Here, we defend truth. Here, we denounce.
Hold on. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to bed. All right. I'm going to set my alarm, and then when the alarm goes off, I'm going to get up and try this. Try to start this day over again.
Deception. Here, we are created in the image of God. Our detractors call us crazy, but our friends call us
Ward Radio. All right, so today they're going to teach us about the Cynocephali. So brace yourselves.
Here's where it gets weird, okay? The Cynocephali. Now, here's where it gets weird, okay? The Cynocephali have been spotted in the ancient world and the medieval world, all over the world.
Okay.
What they tried to say was the Cynocephali were actually just baboons. Academics have been taking the L for the past decade. They're a bunch of nerds, and all they want to do is impress each other in their circled...
That's like so like 80s and 90s mentality on academia. It's like that is what you think someone has a personality disorder. I do. I have a couple. You want me to list them for you, babe? Though I don't know about maybe the Ward Radio folks have personality disorders. I don't know. I'm not a trained professional, but I'm here anyway. Kwaku calling anything weird is wild, yeah?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Midnight Mormons. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, and today we are joined in the studio by none other than Brad Whitbeck and Kwaku L. And today we've got a really fun topic. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I know it's one of Kwaku's conspiracies, and it's a good one. What is it, Kwaku?
Well, which one do you guys want to hear about? Because I have two. I have the Kybalion explained, the law of mentalism, vibrations, and all sorts of stuff that was given through the three initiates of Hermes Trismegistus as recorded by William Watker Atkinson in the early 20th century. Or we can talk about the Cynocephali, a group of half-human, half-dog people that lived in North Africa and in South America.
Dude, half human, half dog. Let's do it.
Okay.
That's cool. What do you think, Brad?
Oh man, I was feeling the vibrations thing, but let's go.
We're doing the dog thing. I don't want to deal with. I don't want to hear their theories on vibrations. That'd be for weird with it if we did. But since we're talking about a cryptid here, it's coming up in Cryptic Corner.
Go with the dog
anyway.
people first.
I can make him connect. So here's the thing. So the Cynocephali. Now, when someone says dog people are real, you're usually gonna think, no, okay, you're a psycho. I'm gonna dismiss you because you can't believe in dog people. But the legends of werewolves, you know where those come from? They come from the Cynocephali. The Cynocephali were recorded...
Okay, the legends of werewolves are a lot more complicated than that, Kwaku. The modern interpretation of the werewolf links itself back to like 16th century France. I believe a couple months ago. When did we do Beast of Gévaudan? Le Bête du Gévaudan. When did we do that? We went through this list, and during that period of time, there were hundreds of wolf attacks in France. The European wolves had just had enough. They'd been pushed back by all these wine-drinking Frenchies, and they decided to fight back. They made war on humans for a few decades there, and a lot of our werewolf lore comes from that time period in France, and to a lesser extent in Germany, mostly France, like 90% France. If you look at that time period, there are hundreds of wolf attacks. There are pages and pages of it documented. So yeah, that's where werewolf legends come from. And then there's also, even further back than that, it comes back to the idea of demonic possession in light of mental illness and not being able to explain that. There's a mental illness that actually has a diagnosis code for it called lycanthropy. And it's a real condition where the person thinks that they are a canine. They think that they are a werewolf, and they behave as such. Or they become beastly, but it doesn't mean that it's based on real wolf-headed people. It's it's taking it one step further. Oh, this person became a wolf mentally. What if that was powerful enough? Or what if there was some external force that could make them become like a wolf physically too? Wouldn't that be scary? And then you get into different ideas on how that could happen. What could turn you into that? What can, the moon, the bitten by the werewolf, drinking from the wolf paw print, whatever. All sorts of crazy ideas on how this affliction could, land on people. I think science teaches people what to think. I don't trust scientists. I mean, this isn't even about science. This is about history, right? We have the court records. We have the hospital records or almshouse records depending on the time period of people being treated for these conditions. Right? It's all documented
By Herodotus
Okay.
and Augustine. In fact, St. Augustine actually wrote...
Unless you're a mud flood person, and then the world didn't even start, or this cycle didn't even start until 1776. But we'll get to that in the next segment of the show.
an essay, if you will, about whether the Cynocephali could be saved, because they're just beast enough where they're not subject to salvation, but they're also just human enough where they could be. Now, here's where it gets weird, okay? The Cynocephali have been spotted in the ancient world and the medieval world, all over the world.
Okay.
What they tried to say was the Cynocephali were actually just baboons.
Okay.
Because baboons kind of look like human dog. They don't.
How do baboons not look like a human dog hybrid? Dogs have a condition to have grabbing jaws. It's pronathism, right? So baboons have that same feature, but they have hands like a person. You could say, depending on where on the spectrum you're going, you could say a raccoon was like a half man, half dog, right? So saying a baboon's not like a half man, half dog is sort of disingenuous, but I think baboons may account for some portion of these sightings, but I have another theory about this that I like and think fits even better, which we'll get to further on into the show.
You think they didn't know what a monkey was? You know what I'm saying? They know what monkeys were.
No, science is a process, not a doctrine. Science is a process of understanding the physical world around us.
So the Cynocephali were, according to, I think it was Herodotus, they were a peaceful people, but they can only communicate through barking. But other people like Marco Polo described them as, I think he said they're more vicious. And even Christopher Columbus was hoping to find some Cynocephali when he came to the Americas, but he didn't find any.
Get out of town, really?
Yeah. And if you look at look up the
If he went to South America, he probably would have found some monkeys that would have fit the Cynocephali mold. Let me see. Like if we look at these are North American monkeys, right? If you look at like a black howler monkey, you can definitely see how that might be perceived as a werewolf. If Christopher Columbus stumbled across this when he reached the mainland, because these guys live in Central and South America, so they would have been along the southern coast of Spain. If Christopher Columbus reports Cynocephali, whatever you want to call it, I had trouble with that word yesterday too, on the melonheads thing, because hydrocephaly, it was the condition that the melonhead suffered with, but 3 minutes in, I've had to stop.
I'm looking up their pictures.
Thousands
right now.
of paintings in the medieval ages of the Cynocephali, of half human, half dogs.
This is wild. Okay, so half human, half dog. Now, were these some of your human-animal hybrids, bro? Or
You know exactly what it is, Carter.
I don't, though, Kwaku. You got to tell the audience.
okay, but how? How are they pulling it off? See, this is what I don't get, Kwaku. Nowadays, we've got all kinds of gene splicing. And by the way, I'm not one of those people that thinks the ancients were idiots and couldn't do anything. Because some of these ancient monuments are pulling off exact measurements and stone cutting better than we can now with our, quote, modern technology. And I think, the horribly soft bigotry of low expectations saying, oh, well, Polynesians could never cross the Pacific because they didn't have all Western European technology. I think that's like borderline racist. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to say that, okay, the ancients couldn't pull it off, because there's certain things that, despite maybe not having had X, Y, or Z modern technology, in an amazing fashion, you could move the stones of Stonehenge, or you could pull the rocks of the pyramids, or whatever.
Right. I appreciate this about the show, that they actually take the time to say, you know, hey, this Western notion that any great structures constructed outside of ancient Europe must have been done by some external force, because the people that lived there weren't able to do it or shouldn't be able to do it because they're lesser people. They're not capable of making these kinds of buildings or megaliths. Bullshit.
But, like, gene splicing is a chemical technology that we haven't seen.
No, I'm not saying that like a lady German Shepherd we got these people. But what I'm saying is,
things on how to edit.
Hold on, let me read some of the comments here. One could say that science is based on certain philosophical suppositions, like the physical world is real, and studying the physical world is a useful tool for understanding. Same. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Have to edit that you say.
So,
oh my gosh.
But I am saying this.
Okay.
When you look at the ancient world, and you look at the, okay, let's say this first. What is a genie in a bottle? You rub the lamp and the genie pops out.
Okay.
Okay, now describe a hologram.
Oh, that's a really
Very similar.
point.
A genie is actually an entity, though. A hologram is just a recording. That's like saying, explain a movie projector and saying, well, that's a genie. That's a genie because it's projecting it. I mean, don't be silly. Come on, that's silly.
Okay.
Lehi's not Kaibali.
Liahona?
Sorry. The Liahona. That's a piece of ancient technology. You
Oh,
look
we'll
at
have to get
Göbekli
to that.
Tepe, very clearly, we had far more advanced civilizations than we like to think. And here's a crazy thing. I want to do a podcast on this.
Why? What about Göbekli Tepe is showing that we're more advanced than we should be? It seems like that's where we should be because that's where we are. I don't know. I don't know what measurement you're using to say where we should be at what time. Super weird.
But it's going to have to be like an hour, so we have to do a different day.
Okay, that's fine.
Looking into the descriptions and art in Africa and in South America from the 1300s, and the descriptions of the land, and even some of the way it was portrayed in the actual medieval art, you have giant towers and things that were supposedly not supposed to be there. So the ancient world, I'm there's
my
a
message.
very
I
legitimate school of thought that the medieval ancient world were far different than we're being told, and that they've lied about a lot.
Okay.
This is proto-Tartarian rhetoric, though, because this was 2 years ago before that really got its traction. Tartaria is sort of replacing or merging with, depending on how you look at it, the flat earthers, especially since after the final experiment, the idea of a mud flood wrapping around the earth and then us having to dig it out and all this nonsense.
But so you get into the Cynocephali, you have to ask, okay, well, how do we get dog people? Well, this goes back to the ancient. This goes back to Genesis. This goes back to ancient Sumeria and the fallen beings, the fallen angels that mated with humans and created these monsters.
Nephilim.
Which is why you have monsters all over the ancient world.
So
And
are
then-
you saying that Cynocephali are Nephilim, or descendants from Nephilim?
Then they disappear because you got to remember something. Hermes Trismegistus, Hercules, and Abraham were all contemporaries. And nobody thinks about how Abraham and Hercules were running around at the same time.
Oh, wait a second. Who were
interesting.
contemporaries? Say that again?
Hermes Trismegistus, who when he died became deified. It became Hermes, the Greek god, and Thoth, the Egyptian god, the messenger god, right?
Okay, so Hermes
who some people think is Enoch.
Some people think
right?
he's Enoch. Yeah. Hermes.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So the Muslim esotericists.
Okay.
Some people say, I love those weasel words. Many people are saying this. Some say,
Hermes Trismegistus / Enoch. Who?
Yeah. Hercules.
Hercules, okay.
And Abraham were all contemporaries.
And Abraham down in Egypt were all contemporaries.
They're all running around at the same time.
Whoa.
People don't think about that, yeah.
what does this have to do with dog people? Right? Come on, get back on topic. As far as Abraham, Hercules, and Hermes, they can all be contemporaries whatever time period. You can put them back in the days of the trees, right? Before back in the Valian years, because they're fictional, just like the Valor, and just like the two trees of Arda, or not. Well, yeah, the two trees of Arda. We're gonna call them that. I actually love the two trees. I wish we could have those for our world.
I've never made that connection.
Yeah. Also, it's really interesting. Another cool connection is right when in Malachi, when the prophets send, is when Plato and Aristotle and those guys all start taking off. End of the prophets, but the beginning of the philosophers. It's like the God continued the inspiration.
Okay, so
anyway,
wait. Okay,
So the claim there almost sounded like he was saying that that the Greek philosophers were a continuation of prophets. There is an overlap, though. Certainly, it's not like it trades off, because Greek philosophy goes back. Let's see. Actually, I'm gonna fact check you, Kwaku. Greek philosophers. All right, which looks like. I'm going to do a timeline. See if there's a timeline of Greek philosophers. So 620 BC, right? Began develop, and that was Thales of, I think that's how you say that. Thales of Miletus. Let me pull it over so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So, Thales, maybe? Thales, I think it's Thales. Yeah, Thales of Miletus. Thales of Miletus, 620 BC. Socrates, who really is like the guy, right? But it was older than Socrates by at least 100 years. So, but there were prophets or self-proclaimed prophets before, during, and after. Of the God of Abraham, before this or during this time and before this time. Anyway, that's not what I meant to do. No, I lost my place. See if I refresh it, if it'll.
I don't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never made that connection.
Yeah. Also, it's really interesting. Another cool connection is right when in Malachi, when the prophets send, is when Plato and Aristotle and those guys all start taking off. End of the prophets, but the beginning of the philosophers. It's like the God continued the inspiration.
Okay, so
anyway,
okay, so
interesting.
I've got so much information.
Yeah, like I was mentioned at the start of the coverage that this was Mrs. Midnight Mormons is the name of the show, and the channel is Ward Radio.
There's too much to talk about.
Okay, wait, but I just want to make sure that I'm catching up. This is like when Joe Rogan had Alex Jones on his show. And he said, well, slow down, Alex. I got to have James fact checking whatever you say so people don't get mad at me. You know what I'm saying? I'm still trying to process this all. You're saying Joseph Smith killed all the werewolves. Okay. And that
All the Cynocephali.
and that the and the Christopher Columbus came to America looking for Cynocephali.
Well, so he expected to see the Cynocephali. So the Spanish explorers thought they were going to see Cynocephali, and instead they just saw people they considered savages. Some probably were more savage, but the Cynocephali have been spotted all over the ancient world. Anubis.
Yeah.
Of course, they got to throw in that little jab at. Why are people from Western civilization so opposed to the concept that maybe the Native American savages that they read about in old pulp magazines and such, and historic accounts from what do you want to call them? Colonizers, conquistadors, things like that, about how savage the natives were overblown, or were maybe in some cases even fully fabricated to demonize the people and justify.
Egyptian god.
Oh
Dogman,
my gosh.
right? So you start
I
looking
never
at this kind of
thought
stuff.
about that.
These dog people are all over the ancient world, and here's where it gets crazy. Saint Christopher.
Okay.
Google Saint Christopher.
Okay. Well, first things first, I got to show the picture of Anubis being the Cynocephali. If you actually look down on that corner picture, sure enough, you look up Anubis Cynocephali, and there is your connection right there. Boom shakalaka. Open this
People
up
think
and
these fairy tales were just made up. No, they all come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Honey, we've been doing animism. Some of the earliest, actually, I think the earliest effigy is a lion-headed man in Europe. So it's basically a cave lion that someone made merged with a person. That's one of our earliest representations. Is the claim here that because we have that there were really lion people running around during the Pleistocene? I don't think so.
That's true. What do you know? Look at that, Kwaku. Okay, so keep going. You want me to look up Saint Christopher?
So look up Saint Christopher, because Saint Christopher up until the 19th century was depicted as Cynocephali.
No.
Oh, interesting. And I'm just looking here. It's been speculated.
That's what this picture
The dog
is?
saint. The dog saint's a Cynocephali, yeah.
Oh my gosh! Holy smoke!
You know the
look at
painting of like
this.
the dog saint? It's like a dog head, or the painting of the dog saint carrying the little Jesus. Have you seen that?
The
picture?
little Jesus.
Oh my gosh! No, look. I'm going to put this on the screen right now so that everybody can see it. Here we have understanding the dog-headed icon of Saint Christopher. There he is.
Why is
With
it
a little
cutting it
dog
off
head.
like that?
So,
my gosh.
Kwaku, are we certain that is not just a mistranslation? Like people misreading him as a Canaanite?
So yeah, so
And-
because the words are similar. So
Yeah.
Canaanite and canine are similar.
Especially in Latin, it's like one letter off. You have
Yeah,
Cananeus
Right.
and
exactly. That's where-
Caninus, right?
So the two
Or well, I guess 2 letters off. But
So the two explanations are, well, there's two options. Either the Cynocephali were a real tribe, or it all came from a mistranslation and they were actually looking at baboons. Now, here's the hard part
Or maybe they're looking at something else completely. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
of that. When Egypt comes into play, they've got their own thing going on. They're not relying on the Latin and the Greek.
Okay.
And Anubis, the god Anubis, is going back to the ancient days before Cynocephali, where you've got these dog people. And it also doesn't account for the fact that the dog people were seen in ancient America, and North Africa, and in India. So one of the ways to try to explain it in the Mediterranean was, it's the translation. But then it's like, okay, well, how come they're here?
There it is.
And in Egypt.
Saint Christopher as a werewolf. There's all of these pictures. Now, hold on.
The original, here's the thing. Saint
So
Christopher was...
there's something we got to remember here, too, is that when you go to India, in any kind of urban area, there are people that populate those cities. But, oh my God, are there monkeys that populate those cities? There are monkeys everywhere. They seem like they're part of the native population. They're crawling. They're on the build. They live in the house. They live in houses and everything like that. It would really, visiting India would really come across like you found two species of primates that live in an urban environment together. Because that's true. Rhesus macaques are some of the langurs, more so in the west. Or sorry, not the west, the east. But in Africa, of course, you have Barbary ape, baboons that again would live in urban areas as just like pest species that raid our dumps and things like that. And they might seem like they're more civilized than they are because hey, they're living in cities. and they're utilizing human developed environments and tools and things like that.
See, was the tale goes he was a savage, brutal monster who loved to like kill Christians. Okay.
Okay.
But then, one day he was told, by the way, the Satan is the strongest god in the world.
Okay.
And so he gets into like a ceremony to summon Satan, and there's a couple different renditions of the story, but to summon Satan, and then he's talking to Satan. Satan's like, only one name scares me, and it's the name of Jesus Christ. And Christopher's like, oh, hey, well, who's that? I wanna. Who is that? The leader of the Christians I've been killing? It's like, yeah, he's the one stronger than me. He goes, well, I want to know who that is. So then he learns who.
This is Kwaku's fan fiction too. As far as I know, this is not doctrine of any religion, Abrahamic or otherwise.
Christ is, and basically, he's got all this strength. He's a half man, half dog, and so what he does is he dedicates his life to saving Christians with his strength. And there's one story where they say, "Can you carry this baby across the river?"
Okay.
And he's carrying this baby across the river, but as he's going, the baby's getting heavier and heavier and heavier.
And the name of that baby was Theodore Roosevelt.
And Christopher says, "My goodness, my legs can barely hold you up. You're the heaviest baby. It's like I feel like I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders."
Okay.
And the name of that baby was John Travolta.
He says, "That's what I've done. Behold, it is I, the Jesus Christ in which you've been." He's like, so Christ.
Oh, I was so close. I was so close. Could have been Travolta, could have been Roosevelt, but Jesus, I guess, is okay.
Appears to him in like a little, multiple mortal probation as a baby.
Okay.
But he's a half man, half dog. So when you start looking into all this stuff, you have to. But here's the thing:
Oh, thank you so much. Who's your buddy? I just now saw. Who's your buddy? Gifted 10 channel memberships. So one went to My Unfinished Journey. One went to KW. One went to Mark, the right-handed Sith Smith. One went to the fabulous Junie the Voice. Looks like we have one going to Scott Duke. One to DJ Ratgirl Tika. Hey, Tika. Good to see you. One went to Birdie B right across the way. Hello, Birdie B. One went to Hellbound Hillbilly. Then we got Patty Troy got one. And Thylacoleon Kennedy got one. Good morning, Stephanie Helms. But, yeah.
Depicted as a half man, half dog. Now, where it's crazy is St. Augustine writes, is he subject to salvation? And the thing people miss about this is why Herodotus and Augustine and these people were writing about like literal debates and dialogues as to whether these people could be saved or not, whether they should convert them. Because one, you had missionaries that saw them and wrote about it.
Okay.
And then two, you had missionaries who heard of them. It was like, oh, I heard of somebody who saw. Then you people say, no, I saw them. But how about this? If it was a social and political subject, the Cynocephali.
Okay.
Almost the way we talk about immigrants and immigration. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to get into that right here, Hollyhock. So you're just ahead of the curve. You're ahead of Kwaku. That's all right, though. Hollyhock said, can we consider that sometimes people call other people dogs to cause offense? Yeah.
Cephali in our society, what do we do? If you didn't live in a world in which this was even possible,
okay,
in which nobody had seen a monster or a dragon or a fairy or whatever, nonsense. You're not going to write about it. You're not going to have the top scholars in the world writing about it.
Okay.
But if you live in a world in which these were already an accepted possibility and a reality, that people had seen monsters, that you actively were dealing with monsters, then guess what? This becomes an actual spirited debate, right?
Okay.
So, it's really, really, really interesting.
And that's the thing too, that they, prognathism, for instance, is a condition. These ancient people could be exaggerating to dehumanize the natives, native populations of sub-Saharan Africa, and maybe looking at sub-Saharan slaves in the Egyptian cities and saying, oh, these are dog people. demeaning and demoralizing for them.
Because the more you start getting into this medieval stuff, you start realizing that these people legitimately believed these things were real. And we have multiple eyewitnesses who say, yeah, no, I saw them. Don't go into the water because that's where the mermaids are and they'll kill you.
Okay, so I've got.
man.
But by mermaid, they probably just meant a manatee. Look, I've seen a lot of fat women in my life, and not once.
Oh
have I
my
ever-
gosh, what?
No, that's what they say. They say they just saw overweight women, so they thought they were, overweight women or manatees, and they
That
thought
was
they were.
not. That's a twisted version. So when they saw manatees, they thought they were large women, and large women were the flavor of the month for about, I don't know, 20,000 years or so for humans, because it meant that it was a well-fed person. It's not. They didn't think that fat women were manatees. They didn't think that. They thought that manatees, because they have they have fins with fingernails on them, and human-like breasts when they're feeding their young, and all Afrotheres have human-like breasts, so elephants do too. That they thought they were a species of human that had adapted to the water, or they thought they were a kind of person when they first encountered manatees, because it was just a tertiary, simple engagement.
They're mermaids.
Oh my gosh.
That's the actual explanation to why so many people saw mermaids. It was a fat chick or a manatee.
So in order to debunk a lot of Quaku's conspiracies, we're
That did not. No one ever said it's the fat chick. Come on now.
forced either into body shaming or racism, because Polynesians can't cross the Pacific,
And
mermaids
legitimately
are fat chicks. Is
and
what
we
you're saying.
legitimately confuse a tribe of North Africans for baboons, is what the
Oh,
scholars are
geez.
saying.
That is not what they're saying. They're saying that the stories could be a combination of people seeing baboons in Africa, and Barbary apes, of course, and also seeing sub-Saharan African people living in Egypt, either as immigrants or as captured slaves, especially as captured slaves, though, where they would have been kept in more lowly conditions, and just the lowly conditions being compared to how they kept a dog, spitting out into these are dog people. But there's another culprit that you're not thinking about, especially with the Egyptians.
Not kidding.
Serious.
Or
You're talking about when they were saying that the Cynocephali were actually baboons,
Yeah.
even though the
Yeah.
ancients, when they went to North Africa, say, no, I saw Cynocephali. Okay.
also Saint Augustine was, guess what? An African. So
Oh, St. Augustine was African.
yeah, he was North African.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
now North
not-
African as in of more of the Arabic and Muslim descent?
Yeah,
or
he was definitely
like
more
sub-Saharan
Arab.
African.
He was definitely more North. He was more Arab.
Okay.
However, but I mean, North Africa back then was a little less
So
divided.
here's my pushback.
He probably looked more like me, like the half Arab, half black mix, right? But it's like this guy. You think this guy doesn't know the difference between his homeboy and a literal like ape? You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
So, and the idea that somebody from the Middle East would know what a baboon was is a little. I mean, it's actually kind of far-fetched. There would have been maybe some monkeys that got traded through various Mediterranean trade routes, but baboons wouldn't have been, at least not that common in such a trade, because they're aggressive. There are much more docile species of monkeys that to be exposed to, and a baboon is large. But again, I don't necessarily think baboons are the only culprit here, but we'll get to that.
So
You think he
Quaku,
doesn't know?
Quaku, just before our listenership,
And I want to make it clear, him referencing Arabs as part of the reason why I'm going to present my case here in a minute. So if you're interested, after this, I'm going to lay out mine. But this
Our
is running a
adoring
little
audience
longer than I
here.
wanted it to.
at FM 98.1 actually thinks that
Yes.
all Mormons are insane conspiracy theorists that are convinced that Joseph Smith killed all the werewolves and Christopher Columbus was looking for Cynocephali.
You gotta admit, you didn't know what that
Okay.
was until today, and it's a cool conversation.
Yeah, but they didn't trade big cats in like the pet trade where you'd see it in like the market. Not generally, anyway. Big cats were things like gifts for kings generally big cats were considered like well, even today they're somewhat considered a symbol of royalty and upper class, but like your average person wouldn't. Well, they may know what the big cats are, but their exposure to monkeys would probably be, just generally speaking, exposure to smaller, more docile species of monkeys that are cute and entertaining, right? That they can teach tricks and stuff, and that's where you'd see them, and you'd go down and they'd do like a show for you, and you'd throw quarters into them and things like that. But baboons weren't usually used in that nature. Baboons could have been used during the Roman era to fight in the Colosseums. No doubt there were baboons and other monkey species, Barbary apes perhaps used. But apes weren't used. Apes, again, yeah, you're talking either far east or far south into sub-Saharan Africa. So our exposure to them is very limited, and some of the earliest depictions or descriptions of apes describe them as a people. It's just a primitive people, because in my opinion, they are a primitive peoples. Using the word primitive loosely, I would prefer a uniquely adapted people, but I think they could be people.
Conversation,
Yeah,
bro.
I will accept.
Yeah.
I will accept Kwaku's cool conversations and conspiracies. Okay, but I want to give a little pushback of maybe what this could have been.
I've read all the explanations. Go on YouTube. Okay, and if you go on YouTube, you can look at the.
Let me say.
Okay, then. Okay.
Okay, so look at your screen right now.
If you go on YouTube, you can debunk all the scholars.
Yes.
As we know artistically, Saint Marcus was always Saint Matthew, I believe, was always represented as the lion. Saint Luke was the ox. Saint John was the eagle, and then it was either Matthew or Marcus. One of them was a lion. Okay. Oftentimes, when you go to the Vatican, you go to Italy, you go to all these beautiful old Catholic cathedrals, you end up seeing, physical statues and artistic representations of, Saint Lucas the ox, right?
Right.
So could not Saint Augustine
not even you're trying to pull the magic away, Cardi. Here's why it's not
could
even.
not Saint Augustine simply have been positively referenced as the strength and the craftiness of a wolf?
Oh, you mean Saint Christopher? Yeah.
Or Saint Christopher?
No,
yeah. So
no. Here's
couldn't
why.
that be an artistic?
I know that's what you want to go to because it's the most normal thing. They were given the strength of these animals because these were the common animals for production in the time, and you could see the strengths of them, and it's similar to a zodiac. Okay, you don't actually believe you're the stars, but there's the association with. It's the same reason why China has every month is an animal. You've got the year of the lion, the year of the cat. Those are symbolic. Not once did anyone
were
make
all of the zodiacs real, actual?
Oh God! Don't get him started on the zodiacs. What are you doing? That's going to be a whole rabbit hole. Kwaku can spin yarns about. Obviously, this dude Kwaku spends a lot of time looking at the same type of conspiracy videos on YouTube that I do, but like with a completely different lens.
We can talk about it in a different podcast.
Okay.
But what I'm saying though is not once were any of the saints ever said to be human animal hybrids from the. Did you think they really said Saint John was actually a half man, half eagle from the tribe of Shambambabu up there in the Kunlun Mountain?
They had like Saint Patrick healed werewolves, literally. Or was that was St. Patrick, right? Yeah, the werewolves in Ireland, a whole village that would turn into wolves for I think it was like for X amount of years, and they turn into people for a year, then turn into wolves. It was like 7 years or something like that. And St. Patrick came and broke the curse. So saints do a lot of silly stuff. St. George slew a dragon. Do you believe it? Oh, Kwaku definitely believes in dragons, though, and I'm sure he believes that people were cursed by God to turn into wolves too. By a Celtic god? No, probably by a Mormon demon that used to be a Celtic god. I don't know. They didn't say that, but
of course they didn't. They didn't go that far. What I'm saying is this was
so here we
considered to
just
be a literal
lampooned
tribe.
Western academics for their soft bigotry and low expectations.
Dude,
As
I'm
you
sorry,
just say,
I don't trust-
this guy's
the bigotry's not coming from them. The bigotry's coming from inside the house, pal. You're just going with Kwaku saying, yeah, they compared African people to baboons, and that's what the people ran with, and you're running with that and saying, oh yeah, Kwaku's right. No, Kwaku's not.
from Shim blah blah blah.
Goodness
blah, blah, blah.
gracious.
First,
Horrible.
Joe Rogan is beating CNN and MSNBC. Academics have been taking the L for the past decade. They're a bunch of nerds, and all they want to do is impress each other in their circle of academics, okay? Because that's all it is. No, seriously, I know you have to censor that
Joe
out.
Rogan has the academics on too. Like, name one big academic person that is not been on Joe Rogan. He's had Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's had Lukaku. He's had, I hope I said that right. He's had Bill Nye. He's had all these different science communicators on the egghead academics that apparently are taking the L when, they just keep learning more and more and have better understanding while you keep appealing to ancient mythology, but whatevs.
Things I have to edit. Then why don't we do it?
Okay, I have a question
this
for
guy
you,
said
Kwaku.
this in a book, and so I'm referencing it in this book. And it's literally just a circle. That's all it is of nerds that nobody cares about. I wrote a book at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, that 5 people are going to read. And the 100 students that have to buy it for class are going to sell it for weed in a month. So shut up.
Okay.
So, but you think Joe Rogan is a better place to learn science than in science books by scholars? Jesus.
So
Okay, so I've got a question here.
Okay, what's your
if
question?
these Cynocephali are really like human-animal hybrids, we were talking earlier about the flood, right? And with Noah, part of the reason that God flooded the earth was because of these human-animal hybrids, to get rid of
Okay.
them. So are these Cynocephali like leftovers from after the flood, or where did these come from? What's your thoughts on that, or do you have anything?
So remember, one of the ancient Jewish thoughts for the flood of Noah.
You got like 60 seconds for this. So
One of
do
the
it.
ancient Jewish thoughts for the flood of Noah was not to just destroy all of the giants like Goliath and the human animal hybrids, but they were to clean the human bloodline, because the human bloodline was so corrupted. And so the cleansing of the bloodline did that. But remember, there were still monsters and still giants flying around in the Old Testament, right? They were like grasshoppers in the sights of the giants, as it says in the book of Numbers. So the monsters were still able to come because the fallen angels were still coming to Earth. But
I believe that they were like grasshoppers was comparing the numbers in their army. Not meant to be taken literally, but yeah, take whatever you want literally from the Bible. I think a lot of the battles and stuff mentioned in the Bible, I think, really happened. I mean, I think there's a lot of history stored in the pages of the Bible. It's biased history from one point of view, just like Roman history or Greek history is biased from their point of view. So you're going to see the Germans as barbarians, the Germanic tribes as barbarians, when they were people with their own cultures who sure as hell didn't call themselves barbarians. That was the Roman name for them. So to take this metaphor that we were like grasshoppers and they were like giants, and take it literally and say, oh, that means there were giants. Well, there's just no evidence of that. If there's it's mythology at that point, if you want to go that direction. I don't think it's mythology, actually. I think it's a description, a metaphor for a battle.
human bloodline was not completely and totally polluted. That's the point, right? So, which is why you have them all appear. But then when Christ comes, Before Christ comes, they're all gone. And then after he dies, they all come back in the Middle Ages, which is why you have... There's a reason why aliens are always abducting, and fairies in the Middle Ages did the same thing. And they always appeared in glowing lights with glowing beams. It's the same story over and over again, but these are evil spirits. It's just, anyway,
He's going to get into aliens being demons, I'm sure.
About the time. But the point is,
Okay,
everything's a simulation. You can't trust reality.
Okay, so we just had a friend of the show walk in who'll be recording with us shortly. One, Siaka Masako. You guys might recognize him from Ratchet. You might recognize him from SWAT. You might recognize him from NCIS.
And
in the last 30...
You Ain't Black.
Oh, yeah, exactly. In the last... Oh, my goodness. In the last 30 seconds, what do you think of all this?
I wish I was here earlier. The point that was just made about the bloodline, I literally was talking about this with my lady yesterday. We were talking about this yesterday, about alien abductions.
So people, and they're still, like, in North Korea, they still teach that, like, that humans, like from outside Korea can't breed with Asians or struggle to breed with Korean people because they're so pure and we're all corrupt dogs. They literally, if Miss Lemon's the one who told me about this cultural phenomenon, like, they're surprised when a Korean intermarries with a European person that they're able to procreate, because the way they're taught is that they're not able to do that. So that leads back to this corruption of the bloodline thing that it's a vein that runs through all of human history, because if you take a partner who's outside of your bloodline, then the infant could have bad blood and become or be a bad person. It's really just an excuse for incest.
Siaka?
I mean, honestly, it's just so much in there, especially like how people, it wasn't alien, or it wasn't angels, it was probably aliens, and I'm like, well, that's just the connotation we use it today, right? What they called them back then.
So yeah, Sumama, you sit down at a dinner date, right, across from one of these guys, and they start talking to you about corrupting the bloodlines.
Is what they were called back then, but it still means that they were created by something, right? So whether we want to call them, this, that, and the other, or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the ages call them different names, but they can still be the same thing.
I do like his hat, though. His hat is adorable.
Oh, I want to get into this.
Oh, okay. Well, look. Wait.
Siak,
Literally 5 seconds. What?
I'm just saying, I know you have the planned stuff to react to Brad Wilcox and stuff, but we could go on a crazy tirade of Siak.
Yes,
we can come back. We can come back. Yeah,
We've got a commercial break. I got a hard out coming out here in a second that I have to go to, all right? The only thing I will say is I used to be a whole lot more critical of a lot of these things. The idea that potentially St. Christopher being a werewolf or whatever you want to call him, that's just fine. I used to be a lot more critical of this until our friend Alejandro Jones, as you can say on YouTube and the broadcast airwaves, all right? Alejandro Jones just predicted war in Russia in February, back in October of 2021, and none of us believed Jeffrey Epstein. None of us believed that there was all these circles in Hollywood, not until they all were found out to be true. So anyway, everything's a conspiracy.
What do you mean nobody believed that? People believed that with the Epstein stuff, at least since the early 2010s, I've always heard people say, "Oh yeah, that dude's running." Yeah, Diddy and his freak off parties. People knew about that. We know that the problem is powerful people don't have accountability. They still don't. It's not like anything's changed. Alex Jones predicting Russia was going to invade Ukraine when they've been poised to invade Ukraine since the 90s. And they needed some leverage, and they got it. Bugbot's still talking about Roanoke. Bugbot's always a week behind.
Apparently, we just got to wait around to find out the truth about St. Christopher being a werewolf. Anyway.
Hold on to your trunks.
Yeah, hold on to your trunks.
Yep.
This is Midnight Mormons. We'll be back after this brief commercial break.
Yeah, well, we're not going to play your commercial, but we are going to talk about... actually, let me just pull myself back up. Okay, we are going to talk about what ancient explorers saw when they sailed away from the Arabian Peninsula. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull up the map. I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map. All right, here we go. Get this over here, and then we will... There we go. All right. So, writers from this area here, from the Levant to the we'll say the Greek islands here, the Eastern Mediterranean, are the folks that were writing about this stuff, right? People in this area. Here's Egypt, which was also what I was saying. This stories were coming from. This was in the early day of sailing, so the Red Sea was where a lot of these people, the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, was where a lot of these people were getting their water wings, so to speak, to sail out. Now, people from the Arabian Peninsula, they would have had interactions with the Horn of Africa here, right, along the coast. There was a slave trade that they had, a coastal slave trade into the Arabian Peninsula that came from down here. But when you get down into here, these people have been sailing since the Pleistocene in outrigger canoes all out here through the Comoros and the Seychelles. They hadn't settled on this island, though, on this big island right here called Madagascar, because Madagascar was controlled by the Cynocephali. Now, the Cynocephali of Madagascar can be quite a trip. Let's have a look at them and see what these spooky dudes look like. Here we go. And how they sound. Look at these creepy... These weird people. Yeah. They have dog heads and they howl like dogs, but they have human bodies. Like they can even climb a tree like a primate. But they have dog heads and they howl. But definitely have people hands. Look at their people hands. Little squeaky toy babies. I know, right? There's a few different species. Scream, ringtail, scream. Yeah, I just want to listen to lemurs. Oh, they're so cute. Sifaka. Clucking. Now, the eye is the one that people were the most scared of because it screams in the middle of the night. I guess it's supposed to sound like a woman. Let's see. That sounded... Mouse lemur. Oh my god, they're so adorable. Those, I think mouse lemurs might be the cutest. Oh my gosh, but these guys... There's almost the pickiness to that. Mongoose lemur. Ooh, hi, cutie pie. Bamboo lemur. I'm over here making my own lemur noises just about how cute these guys are. Sorry, I'll shut up. I'm just trying to talk to the lemurs and they can't even hear me. Mooing. Look at the little cow. A little moo cow. Now hearing that in the woods at night would sound pretty creepy. Red ruffed lemur alarm call loud. Brace yourself. Now that's some Cynocephali right there, right? Come on now. All right. So that's going to wrap up our section of Cryptic Corner for today with the Cynocephali, which are the dog-headed people. I think that they were stories of early sailors that went to Madagascar about an island where there were dog people that screamed and howled. And obviously, you know, this is all theoretical. There's no, there's evidence of early visits to Madagascar, but as far as establishing, a settlement there, it's been, it didn't happen until the first, millennia, CE, because, well, because the density and bizarre ecology of Madagascar actually makes it pretty hard, made it pretty hard for people to adapt. And it was a completely different, they had to learn all the foods that could be eaten there because it was completely different ecology from them that they came from in, they actually came from Asia. So they weren't ready for what Madagascar had to offer necessarily. And the African people that visited the area they didn't even settle it at all, right? A lot of people are like, oh, Africa and Madagascar are right there, and they didn't even settle it. But it was because you get there and everything's foreign. You know, the foods you have and everything is foreign. You could settle it, but it would take a migration movement, which is what it was. A part of the I believe it was part of the Melanesian migration that ended up in Madagascar. But regardless, what do you think? What do you think the Cynocephali or Cynocephali, or however you want to say it? I don't care how you say it. Tell me what you think it is. All right. Top Tester, thank you for sticking around. I got more show to come. We got a whole bunch more show to come. This is just the first segment. But yeah, as far as Cryptic Corner goes, please remember to be kind, take care, and we'll see you next time.